Hey Gemini, how's it going? We are here with a timeless reading. The first card that we have out is Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is when you feel kind of trapped in your mind, like you can't really escape from the prison that you're in mentally, and you can feel stuck and you can feel like there's nowhere really to go, and you just have to sort of like sit there until it times out a little bit. I'm seeing Temperance, which is kind of alluding to that, like rather than actually, you know what, the way that this feels to me is that, you know how there can be those like restraints that someone can be put in, and if the more that they move around, like the tighter that it gets, it feels kind of like that, but on a mental level, that if you would just sort of stay there, it's not going to like squeeze you any further, or it's not going to get more intense. And it can be really uncomfortable to be in that position, and we can sort of try to like fight our way out of it, or like wriggle our way out of it. But if you do that, like it's just gonna feel like more compressed. And so having Temperance there feels like not doing that. It feels like one of those times where if you try to like bring more force or like think more about it, that it's just gonna get worse. And so this can be one of those things where like maybe you stop trying to figure it out, or stop trying to think about it. Maybe you take a walk, or maybe you like listen to music, or maybe you start drawing, or maybe you cry. Like whatever this is, it can be something where like having Temperance there is about not trying to like fight your way out of this with force. Something too is that like before the reading started, I started feeling this like it felt like an anger or something like that. I ended up like cleansing the space, but I definitely got that. Like it felt like like stuff sort of bubbling up to the surface, but maybe something that you didn't know was there before, and maybe it can be like frustration or something like that like wasn't seen initially as that maybe is going to come out in that way. And there can be some type of emotional purging that's happening as well. We have Pisces here. This can be like the stuff that we take on, the stuff that we absorb, and finding a way to work through this. It's also finding a way to work through the psychological stuff as well. Having both Temperance and also the Moon here, this is like working with the maze of your mind. I feel like you got caught in some type of mental trap, and you're like finding your way through it, but the lights are off, and so you have to like sort of feel your way through this, and it can feel frustrating that you're even there in the first place. And that with patience and with acceptance, this is something that's going to be worked through, but you can see it as sort of setting you off a little bit. So maybe this has to do with a relationship. I'm seeing the Lovers on the bottom of the deck. This can also be like anxious about the unknown and what's going to happen too. That can be part of this. I was seeing it on the bottom of the deck, and oh, I have to like be careful with this card. I'm seeing it on the bottom of the deck, and also now the Lovers is out. Sorry if I like flashed anything. So that's where I'm seeing us be. So what this can boil down to is that you can be feeling like sort of perplexed a bit here on what to do, kind of stuck a bit here on what to do with the relationship. Having Temperance, I wouldn't advise you making any big, grand, sudden moves here. Temperance is working with yourself, working with your mental state, figuring out psychologically what's going on with you. Having the Moon here too, before like trying to show up and tackle something when you're not in a space that you feel particularly clear. So working with that part of yourself. It can be difficult too, because this isn't just you doing something on your own that's sort of like an isolated incident. This is like you're going through something, and also like another person is involved in this as well, which just sort of complicates things further. So this is somebody that you're like working on the relationship, or you can be working on a project with this person. Something where you guys are doing something together here. Feel like something's being figured out about what's going to be happening. I wonder if that's part of the anxiety. Because this is sort of like facing the unknown, and so you don't really know. Like, I don't know what's behind that door. We're going through that door. I don't know what's behind that door. Things are not feeling easy. Stuff is being worked out currently. But it can feel kind of like a stressful situation. Is it going to be enough? I feel like something, it's unknown, but you're discovering this with this person. I feel like it's about what is being asked of you, what you're able to provide, what you need, what they need, what feels like it allows this to be sustainable. Yes. To feel like it's enough. But that can be exactly what the sort of concern is about, or almost feeling stuck when it comes to that. I wonder if this is like an unknown too, of like what's really expected of me, or what's needed of me. Maybe also like what you need, or maybe also what you expect too, that being part of this. Where emotions are involved, it feels like that's part of a challenge here, where there's stuff going on and there can be just I'm not sure totally how to address that. Like, this is happening here. It's something that has sort of popped onto the path, but what to really do about that, trying to look into it, feels kind of I mean, it can feel painful, and it can also feel liberating too, depending on what side of this you're on. Feel like there's something painful that's being addressed that's connected with the exchange between you and this person, and you can feel like it's difficult on an emotional level. I feel like on a level of feeling, because Queen of Cups is here, and so this is going to be when you're emotionally sort of intertwined in something, feeling like there's a difficulty addressing something that can be painful to address. But the thing with the Three of Swords is that as much as it can represent pain, it can also represent, like, the other side of that is connected with healing, but there needs to be really a looking into that and why that's going on. Because if you have somebody that it's meant to feel like functional when you're having that interaction and exchange, but it's not feeling like that, having to address, like, what is the problem, like, what's going on here, what is the issue, why does this hurt, why is this painful, what is this bringing up, and also, like, can this be worked through too. But I wonder if there's like an anxiety about having to address that, like having to go into an area where you know that if you want to be here and if you want to be doing this, having to address painful things, that's going to be part of this too. And like, do you want that? Or is this something that you feel like you're shying away from? Like, do you just lock up and do you freeze when things become, when like pain sort of enters into the picture? Or is this something that you're willing to see through? Is it even possible to see this through? So all of these things can be coming up now related to this. Because you can feel like if you're going to be here doing this, this is unavoidable. And right now you can just see it as like pain being unavoidable, but also to the other side of that is going to be healing that will be like unavoidable essentially as well, if you want to look at it like that. But initially it can be like more of a shock to the system. Are you willing to take your chances and to face this head on and say, what can we do about this? I think maybe in a way that feels more resolute. Also seeing what had been getting in the way of doing exactly that. Some of this can be connected to having an attachment to, or like not wanting to let go of stuff that like when there's an attachment to things being other than the way that they are, it could sort of block progress from happening. And I wonder too if this can be like an avoidance or a fear of addressing things that are painful, like getting to the point where it hurts and then like maybe wanting to back up all the way from that rather than like working it through. That can be part of this too. Like there can be some type of Hanged Man is coming out with the King of Swords, which feels like something that doesn't allow you to like think clearly or see things all the way or be able to effectively problem solve. And I clarified Hanged Man with this deck and the Devil came out, and this feels like anything that would have you not addressing what needs to be addressed. So this can be like avoiding, it can be not addressing, it can be like running away in some way, or it can be, it's just like anything to avoid the actual problem that's going on here, or anything to escape the pain of addressing this. And it really does feel like it's possible for this to be approached, but it's possible not only for this to be approached, but also potentially for there to be resolution, but only if you're really willing to go there. Like, it's not going to be resolved if you're not really going there. You're going to have to really go there and see what this is about. And if you aren't really going there, because there can be stuff that like you're holding on to that's not conducive to resolving this. And it can be blocking a solution from actually happening. And I think because of wanting to avoid something that can feel like painful to have to address here. But that's where a resolution is born, through addressing that. But there can definitely be some type of block, some type of avoidance. Because like in this case, I'm kind of seeing Neptune as being the thing that like evades that you can say like, this kind of keeps me mentally safe from having to go into something painful, but also keeps me simultaneously from actually addressing this thing that needs to be addressed. So it's like by avoiding the problem, there's also avoiding the solution too. And then it just sort of remains. And that's why nothing is really happening. So I feel like feeling thrown off on an emotional level, with patience and cooperation and working with sort of what has been presented to you, you are going to make progress. You are going to move forward with this. I think there's a lot of underlying stuff that's being addressed, and I think stuff that there was like maybe not an awareness that was there, because it could have just felt maybe at the point in time when this was generated, it could have felt too painful to address, and so it was maybe like repressed in some way, pushed down, hidden, kind of like hiding certain things even from yourself, but it can be in an unconscious way. But if there's a willingness to really go there, and it can be a painful place that needs to be gone to, but again, simultaneously, like this can be the genesis of healing. If you are willing to take this chance on the relationship, maybe be open to different perspectives as well. Saying, I'm here, I'm gonna try to figure this out. We probably, because it's a relationship. And then I think really seeing what needs to be seen, but what may have been being avoided. And I think also maybe a letting go of any type of agenda for something to be any particular thing, and maybe allow yourself to go in here without an agenda other than, I want to address this and see what happens, and then see what unfolds from there, rather than like, it needs to be this, that needs to be the outcome, this has to happen. It feels like going into this in a more open-minded way. And I think you'll find that solutions that weren't there before become available, but there needs to be a willingness to sort of go down there. And this can be like, you have to admit difficult things about yourself. It can be admitting difficult things about the relationship. It can be admitting difficult things about your partner. Like, whatever this is, it feels like if you're really willing to see the truth here and to do this like honest reflection, that is where the solution can be found. But there needs to be a like willingness really to go there and to not avoid it. And that then you'll see what can come of this. It feels kind of like you could have looked at something, said it's painful, and sort of been dancing around that. And now this can be the fully going in there and being like, okay, well, I want to be here, so I'm just going to try to see what we can do with it. And I do feel like that's where a solution can come from. That type of mindset. And maybe also giving things a chance to work, as that can very much be possible. I feel too like there are unexplored things about the dynamic that can also come up, and that those can be things that you would actually like to see. And that's a possibility as well. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.